Well, she's now being called the Mary Poppins of propaganda. Nina Jankowicz, who's that? She's the new head of the White House Disinformation Governance Board. But after days of pushback, will Nina take her thought control and ride an umbrella right out of town? Jankowicz will apparently have broad power to decide what the administration considers true and false. And I shouldn't need to explain to you why that is bat poop crazy and very dangerous. But according to incompetent Homeland Security Chief Alejandro Mayorkas, it's totally cool, you guys. He just did a really bad job of explaining it.
We could have done a better job in communicating what it is and what it isn't.
Will American citizens be monitored?
No.
Do you really think that Jankowicz is anywhere near objective enough for this particular job?
Yes, I do. I don't question her objectivity. She's recognized as a tremendous authority, and we're very fortunate to have her.
How does he still have a job? No, seriously. Well, evidence suggests that Jankowicz is far from objective. She has claimed that Elon Musk is bad for free speech and that the Hunter Biden laptop story was totally made up and a Trump campaign product. Oh, yeah, and she recorded this.
Information laundering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious.
God, I need to take a bath in battery acid. That is so weird and gross. And she is our new agency. Many Republicans seem to agree. This is no bueno. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy tweeted, quote, "The same party that spent years promoting the Russia collusion hoax suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story and equated parents to terrorists believes it has credibility to control your speech. Biden must immediately abandon his plan to create an Orwellian ministry of truth." So is Jankowicz perfect in every way, just like Mary Poppins, or will she usher in a new era of government thought control? Let's get into it with tonight's party panel. We've got former Trump Advisory Board member Jason Meister is here. We've got Democrat pollster and co-host of The Five on the Fox News channel. I am her doppelganger. She is Jessica Charloff. And we've got the 2020 Libertarian vice presidential candidates for the LP National. It is Spike Cohen. And once again, all of my people bespectacled this Monday because smart people wear glasses. Jason, there are so many things wrong with this. Where do you begin when you start summing up how problematic this really is?
It's unbelievable. I mean, let's be honest here. The mission of this board is to spread disinformation. It's to craft narratives that advance the regime's agenda and suppress those that do not. And what I think is most fascinating about this is that if you think about it, the worst, most egregious, and most nefarious disinformation has been perpetrated by Democrats, including those that are going to be on this board in recent years. You think about, you talked about Trump, they said Trump colluded with Russia, the Steele dossier. There was also Justice Kavanaugh as a gang rapist. Hunter Biden's laptop is Russian disinformation. Jussie Smollett's the victim of a hate crime. It goes on. And these are all narratives. And unfortunately, we now live in the age of narratives where propagandized storylines, not facts, matter. And so we have to understand that it is the Democrats that have been the biggest perpetrators of disinformation.
So it's not just Democrat or Republican, Jesse. I would have a problem with this no matter who was in power. And, you know, things like this always come in like a lamb, don't they? It's like, oh, no, this board doesn't really have any power. There's nothing they can actually do if they come up against disinformation or misinformation. They're just here because they're your party friends, making sure your ears are safe from Russia, China, and the cartels. I'm sure that's what they said, not only at the FBI and CIA, but also the post office. Who would have thought the post office was spying on us? But lo and behold, do we really need a government agency snooping and deciding truth from falsehood?
First of all, appreciate a lamb shout out since we're both Silence of the Lambs aficionados. And obviously that's a very scary. Exactly. Some fava beans and a nice Chianti. The post office, yes, that was surprising. My question is, though, is this actually an agency? There was one part of what Mayorkas was saying this weekend that didn't get covered as much, which is that this department, whatever it is, actually has no authority. So they'll only be making recommendations and then sending it to the actual government authority that would be able to act on it. So I'm curious as to what they will be doing in the end. And I know that they said initially last week or the week before when this got rolled out that it's something that's been in the works for a couple of months. And then Jen Psaki today said actually this was something that began under the Trump administration. So it seems like there are a lot of questions to be answered. I was glad to hear that the intention is obviously not to target American citizens, but Dana Perino brought it up on the 5 today. Well, what happens if it's American citizens that are part of this violent ring, right? They said that they wanted to target connectivity that leads to violence. So it's feasible that an American could be part of it.
That's a slippery slope. The connectivity part, that could be most problematic because it's this pre-violence. And if they're going to act on that, that can be a pretty broad umbrella that can encompass quite a bit. So, Spike, what are you seeing here?
Yeah, pretty much what's already been said. I mean, the reality is that the problem isn't just this one person and what her opinions are. The problem is that there is an agency, department, whatever they want to call it, that is deciding what is or is not truthful and then making recommendations to other government agencies based on that. And if anyone thinks that this is going to be, that this isn't going to be focused on American citizens, I present to you the Patriot Act and the anti-terrorism bills, and every single time the federal government has said, oh, we just need this much more power in order to be able to protect American citizens against foreign bad actors. Oh, actually, we're going to use it to spy on you and tell you what to think and tell you what to do instead.
And then we're going to lie to you
whatever this
about
ends
it.
up turning into, that's exactly what it's going to. And we're going to lie to you about it the whole time. And think about all of the incidences in which social media companies have said, no, this isn't true. You shouldn't say it, and we're going to block you. Imagine now the government saying that.
Yes, exactly. And social media companies can make sure they can try and deplatform you like they did with the Federalists to, bully them into advertising and speaking in a certain way. So they couldn't list their ads on Google and other places. And also they can completely silence you. So it's interesting that this is happening the week after Elon Musk makes his accepted bid for Twitter. So it's as though the content moderation has gone from the private sphere to the government. And that should worry everyone. Because do you really want the party that's not your party, who's not in power now, do you really want them telling you what misinformation is? Because that can be incredibly subjective. All right, now speaking